Ever heard of the spoon theory? It's more than just a metaphor. It's a lifeline for millions of people living with chronic illnesses like fibromyalgia. I'm Sharon. She's Ginevra. We both have personal and professional expertise with fibromyalgia. Welcome to our second only live. And so, being that it is our second live, we're experiencing tech issues, wouldn't you know? so, so we know that some of you are going to be watching this not live, so stay tuned for just a second. We're going to dive into all of the content about the spoon theory, managing energy, pain, and daily tasks. All of those things are pretty tough. It's a balancing act. And so the spoon theory and some other things we're going to talk about hopefully will make that a little bit easier for you and your loved ones. So I do hope people are finding us over here. Sorry to those of you who are joining the live stream. Again, we're having a few tech issues, so we just moved, we moved the URL of where you're seeing this on our channel. So apologize for the hiccup.
Sharon, can we post our new URL in the description for the older?
That's a good point. So Jennifer, are you seeing the new URL? I asked people if they don't see us in about a minute in the old space to exit out and refresh. And so I'm hoping we'll just show up live on our channel.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. Let's see, share my referral.
Oh, we've got 8 people watching us right now. So I think a few people have found us. Welcome. Hey, drop in the comment where you're from.
Say hello. Yeah.
And if you have any pro tips, if we do need to put a message out somewhere else for how you found us.
Yeah. Even the link that you found us through into the description from the older live stream that we had set up. Maybe this is why people don't do more live streams. Maybe the tech issues are a little annoying.
Hey, Bernie, welcome from Florida. Oh, you're very welcome. Hi, Rob from Vancouver. Hello, Marion from Scotland. Thank you for joining us.
Michigan.
Kathy from Michigan, welcome. Great. Okay, well, I'm glad that you guys are finding us. So, so today we're going to talk about the spoon theory, and it was created by Christine, and I'm not sure I say her last name right, but Miserandino, who has lupus, and it truly has been such a gift, I think, to the chronic illness community. She has lupus, so she created it originally to help a dear friend understand what living with lupus was like. And since then, it really has gained a viral buzz, and many chronic illnesses use it because it's a wonderful tool to help describe what it's like on a daily basis living with a life-altering illness like fibromyalgia. So why don't we dive right into the spoon theory? So here I've got my lovely spoons, and how it's described as this: it's a way for helping your loved ones kind of understand the choices you make on a daily basis for the activities and things that you do. So each spoon equates to sort of an energy bar, and we're going to jump into that and just after we talk about spoons too, because there's a couple of different metaphors that people are giving us and that we've also used that, one resonates more with others. And so it's really about finding a system that works for you, even if it's not spoons, but hopefully this might help a few people who are watching today. So Christine gave her friend a bunch of spoons. I have just 10 here today, which Christine in her story uses 12. So I'm really kind of shorting somebody, but many of us watching the show right now feel like I get 3 spoons. So anyway, so we're working with 10 today. So picture being given 10 spoons, and then this is your activity level for the day. So 1 spoon could be just getting out of bed. Now for people, everybody's a little bit different, different stages of the illness. Also, are you in a flare or not a flare could change what a spoon equates to. Let me explain that a bit more. For example, when I'm doing really well, my morning routine is 1 spoon. When I'm having a tougher day, one spoon might be just the getting out of the bed and like going into the bathroom and brushing the teeth, and that's one. Whereas my morning routine would include getting up and waking up my parrot and feeding my parrot and making breakfast for myself, and like all of that would be one spoon. So it's about figuring out what works for you. So anyways, let's say we did the morning routine and there's one spoon spent. So now you need to go to work, and probably the commute is definitely another spoon. And I'm going to guess for many people watching this, though, you spent a couple spoons when you were at home doing all the things that you had to do. So I'm going to take two more out. And so now we are down to the 6 spoons, and we haven't walked into work yet, whatever that might be. Now, maybe it's also just activities that you need to get done around the house. So your commute might be shorter. So maybe your commute isn't a spoon, but you still have a lot of things that you need to do around the house. So then it's how many spoons does it take for you to do those activities or to be at work? And let's say that, by lunchtime, now you're down to 3 spoons. So, possibly you packed your lunch and you had it to bring to work with you, or you had something prepared from the night before. And so maybe taking your lunch break is going to be spoon friendly and not too difficult. However, if you say need to prepare lunch, then maybe that's a whole nother spoon. Or if there's some work meeting that's pretty stressful and you don't really get a chance to have a break, then that's definitely a spoon that you spent. So then you're going into the last half of your day with just 2 spoons left. So let's say that just because we're going to be generous here and for helping to explain the story, let's say this one spoon gets you through your afternoon, which a lot of you are like, there's no way one spoon is going to get me through the afternoon. But let's say that it does. So now we get to dinner time and we're left with 1 spoon. So 1 spoon left at dinner time. It, for many of us, making dinner, especially after the end of a long day, that would definitely be a spoon. So and then there's all these other things that maybe you're thinking about, like, oh, there's these chores I really want to get to. I really would love to clean my kitchen up. It's really getting behind, or I want to be able to do the dishes after I cook dinner, or I'd like to do something fun, which, by the way, key point here, we often, especially with managing our spoons, get rid of all of the fun stuff.
Yep.
We have to be really careful that we stop doing that, because if you get rid of everything fun in your life, it makes managing the illness like 10 times harder. So, and I realize I get, because I have been there. I get that these are some pretty hard choices to make, because we need to go to work in order to have the money and the health insurance to pay bills and things. So it's really, you can't really say, well, I'm not going to use a spoon on that, but it may make you rethink some of the way you're using some of the other spoons.
I
Now,
say leave the kitchen dirty and spend a spoon doing a watercolor painting or something in the evening. I'm just voting for that. Like, you gotta, maybe lesson number 1 is try to hold some spoons for fun.
yeah, and another thing, since you always like to bring the science in for us, and I do too, um, doing something fun like that is going to reduce your cortisol, and it's going to bring the fight or flight system back down. So actually, those things that we think are like a treat or a reward or something bonus are actually very good for you and need to be prioritized, I think.
Wow, are actually good for your health. That's totally true. I think the challenge is when you have, only 3 spoons to spend for the day, and you really have to make those hard choices about, like, okay, yeah, I got to go to work. I have to prioritize that. So the art, I think, is trying to find ways to spend our spoons thoughtfully in a way that can continue to help us to be happy and also to help us to care for family. I mean, when you have kiddos, you often have to prioritize caring for them, and so your spoons might be all spent that way. So none of this is easy, but I think it's a useful way to start to think about, like, okay, I have this amount of allotted energy today. And, it's not going to be, maybe my energy is about 30% of what a healthy person's is, but how do I, within that, make choices about how I spend those spoons? I think that's kind of an important piece.
It is, and we're certainly not trivializing, what it takes to get through the day with this example, and actually what Christine did when she created this, it was for helping someone else understand what she was going through. But in my 28 years that I've been working with the fibromyalgia community now, I have, like I said, fibromyalgia myself. I have found it to be a useful tool for on a variety of levels, including, I'll put my spoons out on the counter, and then people will know like how much energy I have left because when I first got sick, I was very depressed, answering the question, "How are you?" And my family would ask me that like 8 times a day or more because they were just like every time they'd see you walking around, "Oh, how are you now?" And it's like, "What? I'm not much different now," you know? So, and that question just for me was painful to answer because I felt like I either had to keep saying out loud that I didn't feel well, which didn't feel good to me, or I also would sort of dismiss it or downplay it, and then I kind of felt like I was lying and just like, "Oh, I'm fine," which then didn't help them to understand how I was actually feeling. So, using the spoons is a way to, like, kind of forecast everybody, like, mom's got 3 spoons left, like, she's not gonna have a lot of energy. Don't come up to her now and ask for 3 or 4 things, it's gonna be, like, very small if we know it's, like, the dinner hour and we're gonna do dinner or whatever. I don't use it that much anymore, but it was helpful back in the day, and I didn't have spoons sitting around that I could just leave out because we use them all. So, I also like the idea of marbles, so,
And
you
spoons
know
don't work for everybody. I think that, like, the marble concept is a nice one, particularly for kids. I think it's a little bit more like a unit of energy being a marble versus a spoon sometimes makes a little more sense.
and these kinda look pretty, right? Like, you can,
Right.
like, put them out and, yeah, and you can just kinda leave them out, and for you then, it's a tool for maybe managing your energy and, for knowing, like, looking at the marbles as a reminder or the spoons as a reminder of, "Oh, yeah, I really don't have that much energy left for today." So helping to prioritize what you do wanna do, and what I love, Christine, when she tells the story, which we're gonna add to the show notes for today, a video of her doing the story because it's beautifully done by the author. And she said in hers, "Don't feel sorry for me," because she felt like the spoon theory and what it made her do with her life made her really focus in on the things that were most important to her. And it's just so beautiful the way she did that. She also says that her family and friends joke around. It's like a known joke with her that people should feel special when they spent time with her because she's spending a spoon with them. And she was like, "You are like spoon worthy."
That's it. Is activity spoon worthy or not? I love it.
That's right. And I just thought that was really beautiful. And something else that harkens back to is that we are always with fibromyalgia having to think about how we're going to plan our day out. And as a health coach, I work with people one on one, and then I have my programs at the Fibromyalgia Association. Um, and there's information on those things in the show notes. But I think one of the biggest things I work with people on with health coaching is this feeling of management fatigue that I'm always having to manage my illness. And that is true, and I think finding ways to, reframe that so that we can start to try a little bit to look at it as a bonus like Christine did with her story that she shares in her story, that she is now focusing in on the things that are really most important to her. And again, we're not saying though that this is a complete blessing because we know that the downside of all of this is there are many, many things, activities, responsibilities you have that frankly, when we're at our worst, or if we're really struggling and haven't found any help yet, we can't get to a lot of things that do need to be done. And so, So that's the challenge in all of this, but we're hoping that this might be one more tool that you have that can help you better understand what's happening, your family and friends better understand. And then there's other ways of looking at it. And we just want to shout out to Rob Powell, who at least that's the name on YouTube, who said, I use the analogy of trying to get through a day with a cell phone battery with 30% of a regular battery. Some apps drain it in minutes, and the recharger takes forever to get it back to the aforementioned 30%. I love that. I think that's spot on.
And I think the cell phone battery, or a battery in general, is a really nice analogy too, because as opposed to sort of like this, well, you have to think about, the spoon or marbles, a unit of energy. Like, most people are actually used to thinking about like how charged our phones are. Like, that's a pretty universal thing. So if we say like, yeah, I'm at like 30% today, and you can like even show like, here's the battery, and this is draining, or this is kind of helping me regain a little bit. I actually really like that. So I think we've got like spoon theory. I think we've got marbles. I think cell phone battery. And then there was another really cool analogy somebody used. We talked about this in one of our earlier episodes, which I think was it episode 1 or 2. We can link in the show notes. But somebody was talking about how they use the analogy of the having all the construction material to build a house. And some days they have like very little construction material, so they can only build like a small house. And then on other days they have a lot, and so they can build a bigger house, and that's how much energy they have. And I could picture that being a concrete thing that might work for some, even like young kids, like, hey, I've got like 3 bricks. How tall of a wall can you build with that? Uh-oh, today I've only got 2 bricks. So, and also, this is the problem with the marble theory, because you don't want to lose your marbles.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we had someone last time around who had a hilarious quote in the comments about that. She's like, "Oh, this could go over huge with my family, because with our fibro fog, we're already like forgetting things." They're like, "Great, I'm like losing my marbles."
Totally, totally. Losing marbles, losing spoons, losing battery power. Yeah.
Yeah. So, comments from you guys who are watching live. Any thoughts on the spoon theory, marbles, or possibly, something else that you do that is helpful in this train of thought?
And leave us, in the comments. You can let us know what you think. And also, we can start thinking a little bit about questions people might have that they might want us to answer. And we do actually have a couple things we wanted to talk to you guys about from Awareness Day too. Do you want to do that now, Sharon, or do you want to do that later?
Yeah, why don't we jump in to give everybody time to maybe write us a question. And sorry if you're watching this after the live recording and you were sitting there waiting for us in a different spot. We do apologize. um,
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. So anyways, yeah, we just had I want to thank everybody who came to Awareness Day. We did our 24th annual conference this past Saturday. Dr. Lipton here, Ginevra, and Dr. Daniel Claw from the University of Michigan. He's the director of the Chronic Pain and Fatigue Research Center there in a renowned researcher, shared the afternoon with us and shared insights into research, into management. And it was a great day. So we mentioned that we would get to some comments that we couldn't get to at that time. So we just wanted to mention the one out loud. I think we had one that maybe we answered in the comment section, but did you want to say a word about the 2 medications that Dr. Claus said might be FDA approved this year?
Yes. Where did that go? I think you had put it in the.
Oh yeah.
Now it disappeared.
Did it disappear?
It did.
Um Yeah, so, well, for sure, the first one is, by Tonix, who was actually one of our very valued sponsors for Awareness Day. They have a new drug coming out called Tonmia that is currently with the FDA, and it's expected to, have a decision by around August of this year. So if it is approved, it'll be the first new, drug for fibromyalgia in 15 years. So that's super exciting, and we were familiar with that, but Dr. Claus shared with us at the event that
I'm pulling
AX
up the name now.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have it?
Yeah, AXS14, I cannot pronounce the full
I think it's like estroboxetine,
correct. Yes.
something like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah, and it is a serotonin uptake inhibitor. They're looking at kind of similar to some of the meds currently on the market, like milnacipran, also known as Sabella. And there's actually a third drug I learned that is possibly going to be going forward for approval for fibromyalgia. And it is a slow release ketamine. So, ketamine is something that we use for pain management and also for mental health. It is not an opioid, but can help with pain. And it's actually like a subdermal implant that like secretes tiny amounts of ketamine into your system, which sounds like really intriguing, honestly, because it's like a whole different mechanism that we haven't really utilized in fibro. So that one's a little further. I don't think it's going to happen, soon. I think that would take some regulatory hurdles we'd have to get through, but it's kind of hopeful that there's like 3 drug companies looking at 3 different agents for fibromyalgia. I mean, we haven't had that since what, 2009 was our last new.
Right. Yeah.
And, whether you like medications or not, just having that research interest into fibromyalgia, having the pharmaceutical companies invest in a lot of education around healthcare providers. That's something that both Sharon and I are really passionate about, investing into research. That's all really, really good news and really encouraging, I think, from a fibromyalgia standpoint.
It's incredibly exciting, and Dr. Claw talked about that. We had hoped to share a clip with you today from the conference, but due to some of our tech issues, it's
I think
not.
it could work.
Oh, you want to give it a try?
Got it?
Okay, let's
Yeah.
give it a try. Go,
Okay.
Ginevra.
While I'm doing that, you talk about something else because it might not work. So hold, please.
So yeah, if this clip does load, then this was kind of the wrap up from the conference with Dr. Claus speaking when he was talking about how he really feels like overall fibromyalgia and pain management is on a really good trajectory and that there's a lot of good reasons to have hope. We talked about the changes that we've seen in fibromyalgia management, and pain research and fibromyalgia research over the years. Did you get it to work? Pause for a second. There was a little echo on my part.
Nope, won't work.
Nope. Okay.
Trying effort.
Thank you for trying. So he was just sharing that things were really moving in a positive direction. I was even encouraged. So people at the conference, we had almost 250 people register. So thanks again to everybody who did that. By registering, you're not only educating yourself, you're allowing the Fibromyalgia Association to go out and educate other people with the illness as well as healthcare providers. But it was close to like 45% or so said they had doctors who are knowledgeable about fibromyalgia, which that surprised me. That was like a big shift from previous years. So anyways, there was that good news. However, sadly, there is a little bit of bad news. So, or maybe more than a little bit of bad news. And the bad news being that currently in the United States, there are some policies that have been enacted that are hurting pain research. So Dr. Claw was sharing some of these policies with us that grants are being frozen or even altogether canceled.
People are being fired at the NIH.
Yeah. We've actually lost the whole department at the NIH on pain policy. It no longer exists. And one of the key figures in that department was also let go, which Dr. Claude talks about in the conference. And he credits her, as well as other researchers, really credit her with this forward movement of pain research, probably not only in the US, but globally, because all the researchers do work together on a global level to help speed up the rate of research. And that's another thing that's been changed. I've been told that the sub-grants that researchers could share and utilize with people outside of the country, that has ended. So like that has come to a halt. And so there's just a lot of things that are really devastating the momentum that has been built really kind of in a short period of time, because I feel like it's really been like in the last 10 to 15 years with like the opioid epidemic happening and things that as painful as that period was and still is, the silver lining in all of that was that it brought the legislative community together and the country as a whole to see what a problem there is in pain in this country and a need to fund better research and things for pain management. And so that's what's all being cut right now to a very significant level.
Is there
So
something we can do about it, though? One asks.
that's yes, let's go back to the good side because we always like to try to stay positive here. So the University of Michigan just let us know. It's I guess it's not something that they're formally like, it's not their event, but on their campus
Some
on
patient
August.
activists, I think, are organizing it.
That's correct. Thank you. So he was aware of the activity and wanted to share it with all of us because, you know, he wanted to get support for it, as the researchers are also going to join the patient activists in this march that they're doing on August 6th. So if you're interested in that, we would love your support. I don't have any more details than that at this time. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up now so you can put it in your save the date calendar. Start budgeting your spoons far out into August so that you can, you know, maybe use some spoons to join us in Ann Arbor.
We should have spoons that we like, I don't know, do musical spoons with or something while we're marching. Because I'm hoping to come out to Michigan and visit you, and maybe the Fibro Show can have a presence at the
Yeah, maybe we
march.
can have a little social there.
Yeah, and then I was
Yeah.
like, well, how can we incorporate spoons into this? I mean, it's kind of an in joke that maybe not everybody would get, but anybody with chronic illness who's aware of the spoon theory might. It's kind of nice to have like visuals or things that can kind of unite people. So I wonder if maybe spoons on the march. I'm just thinking out loud.
Just spitballing here.
That's what I do. Like think about it. Yeah.
And by the way, if you know, I keep talking about the conference, we're making the recording available to people who didn't buy the registration yet. You can get a copy by donating $12 or more during the month of May to managefibro.org. So when you make that donation, we'll send you out a copy of the conference so that you can hear all this good stuff for yourself.
Very cool.
So do we have any questions now in the chat here, the comment section? And hey, if you're watching us not live, we still want to know what your comments and questions are. So drop those in for us.
And remember to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you hit the little bell icon, then you can be notified whenever we hopefully launch a live or a new video. I assume that people get notified that are subscribed when we do a live, but there's still some pieces of YouTube that we're trying to sort out that we haven't quite figured out.
Thank you for your patience with us on that.
We did have some questions left over from Awareness Day that we were not able to get to, that we promised we would try to address today. So the few that I thought were like key that we really didn't have a chance to get to and that are pretty relevant to our conversation today is, one question was around, how do we get ourselves out of flares? Like, how do we kind of manage flares? And of course, like a whole book could probably be written on just flare management. And I think it might look different for every person, but I can kind of tell you what I personally try to do. So when I'm in a flare, I try to use magnesium, whether it's like topically in an Epsom salt bath, um, orally. Magnesium is a natural muscle relaxant, so it can kind of help just relax our nervous system, and I find it really, really helpful. Along with rest, gentle stretching, trying to distract myself with happy things, i.e., not doom scrolling or looking at the news. Like, just no. And trying to do activities that I enjoy and that help rebuild my spoons. I really like reading mystery novels, so I'll like try to spend a couple hours. Like, I'll treat myself to like spending a couple hours reading a mystery novel as opposed to something where I'm actually trying to, do work or be productive in some other way. I also try to eat really well during flares or to get myself out of flares. And I also try to have compassion for myself. I've found if I can kind of give myself permission, sounds weird, but give myself permission to sort of fall apart and maybe cry and maybe, nap and sort of be not available to the world for a couple of hours. For me, that's helpful. Sharon, what helps you get out of a flare?
Good question. There's so many things. And speaking of that, this is
Hey.
a uh, this is our fibro management wheel. So these are all of the areas of life that need to be managed in order to function well with fibromyalgia. So for me, when you're talking about flares, one thing that often happens with me if I'm kind of in a flare is that more than likely one of these elements of the wheel are probably not being balanced
Mm.
because we all go through those periods in time, right? No matter how good we are at doing the certain things where you just, life happens and, maybe you eat out a whole bunch or the food that you bring in your home, like you're too exhausted to grocery shop. So you're like, you're piecing together these meals that aren't quite really good meals. So, things like that happen. And then you realize, oh, okay, I need to work on, my nutrition, my diet more. And
Or
then
stress gets really out of hand and management strategies go out the window. Yeah.
100%. Like this is sort of a big picture way to look at things, and all of it is to say I'm sharing it too because we want you to get thinking about all of these areas in life. We one of the number one questions I get asked with like the support group and coaching is like, how do I get better? And there's no, like you're saying for the flare, there's no simple answer for that. It's this whole combination approach. So, what you'll find here on our shows, we'll dig into these things and talk about how they all have an impact on health. So yeah, and I do find like for me often my flares typically tend to be around overdoing, and I can really relate to that right now coming off of the Fibromyalgia Awareness Day because I was working well beyond what I know is my level of spoons. I was
I can vouch for that. She has been working her butt off for the past couple of months and really pulling off an event like Awareness Day, basically single-handedly. Like you spent about 1,000 spoons. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. What I'm geeked about is like 2 million people saw our ads for Awareness Day. We had like 19,000 people click on the event to learn more about it and hundreds of thousands more on like Facebook and things. So
Oh,
that's part of the goal of the day is not just getting people to the event, but it's getting the information out there that like, oh, there's an awareness day. Well, what's that? And we had so many more visitors to the website. So it's our hope that in addition to you getting more relief and information as people with fibromyalgia who predominantly watch our show or healthcare providers, we're hoping more of you will watch our show. It's also our hope that like the loved ones in our lives who many of you say it's challenging for them to understand life with us, which it is, will watch. And just hearing information from somebody else can be so important, and to see like, oh, well, that's a real thing. Like that's some my wife or my husband deals with that. And it starts to maybe make sense or set in on a whole different level that way.
I think that's a really good point.
So let's see here. And I had popped a question up when you were talking. Did you have any comments on the CBD? Because we have Bernie was asking, he'd be curious to know how many use CBD to treat fibro.
I would be curious about that, even for people that are not watching currently, presently, if you're watching the recording, it'd be really interesting to like put in the comments if you've had benefit from CBD. In my experience, cannabis and CBD, which is, a component, one of the cannabinoids within cannabis,
I'm sorry.
seem to benefit some folks with fibro, but not everybody. So topical CBD can be really useful, particularly when it's paired with other kind of herbal, anti-inflammatory topical agents like arnica, things like that. And then some people find CBD supplements to be helpful for kind of relaxing their nervous system or for sleep. It's not a really strong analgesic on its own. So, like just CBD on its own, typically taken as a supplement, some people might get a little bit of benefit, but it's not as strong an analgesic or pain reliever as THC is, the psychoactive part of cannabis. But again, even that, some people get great benefit from it for pain and other people don't. Like I've definitely had people that tell me that, when they use cannabis, it actually makes their pain worse, it makes them like more aware of it. So this is one of those like very good examples of how what works for one person with fibro might not work for the other. And I think experimenting, but being cautious and careful experimenting with cannabis because, it is a psychoactive, potentially not legal substance. So CBD, I think, is worth looking into. And I actually have a couple nice blog posts on drginevra.com where I talk about some of the science. I'm like a science geek, so talk about some of the science that supports cannabis and what the studies have shown as far as its usefulness for fibro. In case you want to check that out, and there's actually a couple of videos also on this channel under the Dr. Ginevra special editions, which I actually did prior to Sharon joining, and now we are the Fibro Show. But previously, I was just little old me, and I did some stuff that was trying to present the science around it. I'm not for or against it, just trying to give the info. Oh, and that's a good question about NSAIDs as well. So non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen, things like that, are not necessary in fibro. Some people do find them helpful. Some people don't. The studies of NSAIDs in fibro are pretty disappointing. Doesn't actually show a lot of benefit. Where I find them really useful are for folks that have what I call fibro plus. So fibro plus, let's say, some other type of joint issue, whether it's like a really bad bone on bone osteoarthritis in your knees. Like if you have that plus fibro and the NSAIDs help quiet down the arthritis pain, that's going to also help quiet down kind of the overall volume of fibro pain. So kind of a generic answer because really we could answer that for everything, right? Like might work for some people, doesn't work for everybody. The things that I tried to highlight in my book were things that had either good data, like research supporting their effectiveness, meaning it helped a fair bit of folks in the studies, or things that anecdotally, when I was taking care of fibromyalgia patients, that I found seem to help most folks. There's not like an across the board helps everything. What help me the most and what I strongly recommend, which anybody, you know what I'm going to say, right, Sharon? I'm going to say myofascial release. I love myofascial release for fibromyalgia. That has been incredibly helpful for me personally as far as pain relief.
Oh, and I need to thank you. So I finally, and I'm ashamed to admit this because we've been friends for how long? I finally bought the Cranial Cradle.
And what do you think? Live, this is my first time hearing
Love,
about it.
love the Cranial Cradle. Thank you so much. I don't know why I waited this long. I have no idea. I did wait for a sale, got a great sale. So
I'm going to put the link here. Cranial Cradle, just in case people.
it's like if you've been fortunate enough to get a massage and they do that hold on the back of your neck and you get that nice stretch from your spine. I've tried other products and I have to say, and no, they're not supporting us, but hey, if they want to, we would love your support. We'd use it to educate patients and providers. But you start to feel that stretch that I've only been able to feel with actual hands. So yes.
Okay, that
Very
makes me
cool.
want to grab my Cranial Cradle, which I usually have right behind me, but I don't.
I didn't plan on talking about it,
I know,
otherwise I
well, I
would.
love it. It's spontaneous. And then we've got some feedback here. And hello from India. That is lovely. Thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, I think cannabis, we could probably do a whole talk about cannabis, although I will say YouTube does not like us to talk about cannabis because it is potentially controversial and etc. So I have kind of shied away from it because I don't want to displease the YouTube algorithm. Doesn't mean it's not an important thing to talk about, but
100%. Thanks for sharing that. Yes.
oh, that's a good idea, Rob. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I was going to show that one. Thanks.
that's really good.
Yeah. And we plan to do more shorts. It's been something that we've been wanting to break into, but doing this show in addition to our other jobs, it's not enabled us to have enough free time to explore all that, but that's an awesome idea that we'd like to do. And I'm glad, Rob, that you're finding the shows helpful.
So we've got like 5 or 10 minutes left because we started a little bit late, so I apologize. There was one other question from the Awareness Day event where somebody was asking about napping. Like, is napping bad? Does it affect our sleep negatively? And I'm kind of curious. So I am not a napper. Like when I nap, I often feel like worse. I kind of wake up feeling groggy and out of it. And I don't know, like just yucky. Like I don't feel well. But I know for some people, taking a nap in the middle of the day seems to give them back some spoons. So I think it can be a useful, if done correctly, if you take like just small little naps that are not enough to interfere with your like bedtime circadian rhythm, I think it can be helpful. Although typical advice, if you talk to any sleep doctor, they would say never nap because it creates bad sleep hygiene, bad sleep habits, and it can negatively affect your nighttime sleep. But I almost feel like with fibro, sometimes there's an exception to that because if you take a little nap in the middle of the day and it's restorative for you, and then you're able to be more active for the rest of the day, then I still think you're going to sleep better that night. So I'm kind of curious, like, does anybody find naps helpful for them as far as do you get a couple spoons back? Do you feel like it does negatively affect you? So either leave something in the comments now or later. We'll answer those as well if you are watching this on a recording. Sharon, do you find naps helpful? Are you a napper?
I can only sleep if the stars line up in a certain way as it is.
And it's dark as, you're a vampire, I believe.
Yeah. So naps, as much as my body would love that, like it basically does not happen. I'm thinking too more from all of the research and things. And again, I'm not a sleep expert, but I'm certified in the lifestyle medicine. And I think the really critical part is that morning light. And when in trying really hard, and this has always been a challenge for me. So is to wake up at kind of the same time every day. That's like the bigger piece of the puzzle. And it's hard. Like that is like, it can be really hard, especially like if were up late or you had a bad night, a couple days in a row. And so in that situation too, I will tell you that I will sleep in a little bit. Like if kind of what you're just saying about the naps, like I feel like, okay, well, this is an instance where I just need to catch up a little bit. And then working to get back to trying to get up as close to the same time a day is really important. But the key thing really when we get up is to get that light in our eyes. And here in the US going into summer, you know, go have your coffee or your breakfast or whatever in the sunniest place in the house. Or if, Michigan, we're having a lot of gray days. If that's happening where you are, then if you're able to, turn on a lot of lights, if you have the ability, they make SAD lights, that the seasonal affective disorder lights, which I have found really helpful, and I use them in the winter.
I prefer to call them happy lights though, because it just,
Yes.
there is actually a brand called Happy Lights, and they have some really nice ones that are like $40 or $50. And yes, absolutely, for those gray months or dark months, if you're getting up at 6 a.m. in the winter, like it's just dark, right? But it does help our brain. I actually had a patient tell me that she found that she had more energy and focus in the day if she started her day with 20 minutes before like one of those happy lights, those kind of artificial sunlight. And I was like, so I think that's kind of an interesting.
And I notice on the days like where I have sun now, sometimes I do get into a better routine in the winter months, but in these spring to fall months, I fall out of using it, and we can go a week on end or more in Michigan where it's just like gray, and I feel like that has an impact on my sleep.
So I want to answer Angie's question here. So Boswellia and quercetin, both of them are kind of herbal antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, and can certainly be useful for some folks. Quercetin in particular is useful if you also have like mast cell overactivation symptoms. And I'm so glad that you found a physical therapy group that provides myofascial release. That is an important thing that I like to remind people. Myofascial release is done by both massage therapists and physical therapists. And if it's done by a physical therapist, sometimes in the US, at least, insurance will pay for it or reimburse. So something to think about. And if you are at all interested in learning more about myofascial release, I highly recommend the John Barnes approach to myofascial release. And their website is, wait for it, myofascialrelease.com. But it is a mouthful, so I'm going to put it here in the comments. Plus, I'm having kind of fun with figuring out how to do the comments. Are people seeing them? People are seeing them, right? Like when I put it up there.
I hope so. Check the comments box. Yep.
So myofascialrelease.com if you want to learn more. There are lots of other styles of kind of similar body work, but the one that I personally have had the most experience with is the John Barnes approach, and this is that website.
I'm not seeing any new questions. Are you?
Nope. Well, I guess it's a good time to end then. Do you have any closing?
I do. I just want to thank everybody for being here. Again, thanks to everybody who supported the Fibromyalgia Awareness Conference. Again, if you didn't register and would like the recording, just make a $12 or more donation at managefibro.org, and we'll send that recording out to you, as well as the conference resources. And please subscribe, ring the bell, so next weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and we just wanted to share with everybody, we are taking the weekend off. We are saving some spoons for ourselves.
We are modeling good self-care behavior.
Yes, we are. Last minute pro tip here. Always save a spoon or two that nobody knows about. Keep it loaded in your pocket. Go all the way down to 0. Wanted to make sure I shared that one. But we wish you all a very good Memorial Day weekend, and we are so grateful to those who served in the military, and we are thinking of everybody who served in the military and paid the ultimate sacrifice, and their families. We are thinking of all of you. We also are sending Fibro Love out to people who served in the military and came back, and their lives have been forever changed by chronic pain and chronic illnesses. So thinking of all of you. And until next time, we're sending out some Fibro Love.